You're already breaking.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it said got it, record. I can see it now. It says recorded in the corner.
Yeah, see, no sneaky. Anyway, hello, I have the lovely Jess with me. A good morning to you from Australia. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to preface this by saying we've been talking for 2.5 hours before this. So I feel like I've forgotten who I am. I'm like, I'm having a coffee with a friend. What do you mean? So hi, my name is Jess Kitchen. I'm originally from Bradford in the north of England, hence the accent, but I'm currently living in Sydney at the minute with my fiance Jack. And I'm a thriller author. My debut book, The Girl She Was Before, came out on the 31st of October last year. And I'm working on book 2 now, which is very exciting. I've been signed for a 3-book deal, so there's more to come, but not more of a the same book. It's a different book, like 3 standalones.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?
Yeah, I was that kid that was always reading, always writing stories, and just very much like head in a book. That was always me. But I was actually quite shy about writing, especially as I grew older. I didn't want to tell people that I wrote. I used to think, oh, they'll laugh at me, or they'll think it's rubbish. So to actually get to a point where you put a book out there has been a long journey, but it's something I've always known that I've wanted to do.
What made you take the plunge and finally go for it?
It sounds a bit dramatic, but moving to Australia, my 2 goals in life were to write a book and get it published and try live in Australia at some point. So when we moved, I was a little bit like, oh, I've done that and it's gone well, it was okay. And then also kind of just chatting with my partner, and he was like, well, why not, like what's stopping you? And I was like, actually the thing that's stopping me trying is myself. So I think just that confidence of actually doing something really big and it going well and being like, why not try this then?
And when you finally sat down and started to write, what did you find more difficult than you expected, and what did you find easier than you expected?
I found writing the book was easier, editing the book was harder. I'm that person that when it's time for edits, I'm in the edit stage now, I'll be like, anybody want to do anything? Walk around? Anything that's not sit and edit this book? That's 100% me.
Yeah, that's all authors. Procrastination kicked into genes.
Yeah, it's nice to know I'm not alone. I feel like I'll just be like, oh, this looks a fun thing to do today. And Jack's like, don't you have edits? Maybe.
Yeah, writers have the cleanest houses and the most organised bookcases and whatever, because they'd rather do that than edit. Yeah, I know, I've heard.
I mean, I guess I don't fall into the cleanest houses category. I had some washing on the bed and I just kind of threw it on the floor before this call, because I was like, well, no one will know. So behind the bed, there's just a pile of laundry.
So common, so it's fine. And what made you decide to write sort of thrillers?
Well, the genre I like reading the most, and I had the idea for my book, and I feel like I had an idea of how I wanted a book I wrote to end. It's very hard to talk about this without spoiling the end. I'm like, don't do it. But I had an idea for the ending, and it's an ending that lends itself to thrillers. And like I say, it's the genre I like the most, the genre I read the most. So I felt like it was a bit of a natural progression in that way.
And would you consider writing in any other genres?
I'd quite like to do, like maybe a contemporary style, maybe like a relationship or character exploration novel where it's a bit more character led. But I don't think that's like years away. I think I'd actually rather try write like scripts or something, or a TV show. But I feel like at the minute my focus is definitely thriller books. I just enjoy like writing twists and dark characters.
Out of the 2 books that you've written, what was your most fun scene to write, and what was your most difficult? Obviously, if you can tell us without spoilers.
Yeah, you're like, try not to spoil it. My most fun scene to write, it's going to be very hard to talk about because it was the end of my book. The end, I was like, because I knew I wanted to write it in a certain way, and I knew it was either going to be people were either going to love it or people wouldn't, because it's quite unexpected. And it was quite nerve-wracking writing it, but it's just such a fun scene too. write, kind of like the warped ending was a nice thing to write. And then the most nerve-wracking ones, because bullying's a really heavy theme in the first book, the most kind of difficult scenes to write were bullying scenes, just because you have to tap into a lot of experiences or emotions, and they're always really difficult to relive, I'd say.
If you were able to take out one character for a meal, who would you choose and what would you ask them?
Ooh. From any book or from my book?
Yeah, well, it's up to you or both.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. I might have to pick my book just because my mind's suddenly gone blank of any other book, any other character. It's like, I don't know what's happened. In my book, I'd probably like to take, there's a character called Sunena, and I borrowed the name from a friend, and she's just my favourite character in the book. I just like to take her out and then see if she was anything like the real life Sunena. I didn't write her to be like her, but you know, where you're like, I wonder if you would be. I wonder if there'd be traits that I just didn't invent.
I love that because you wrote it, and it's always like, I wonder. It's like, well, you wrote it, so you know you should know. That, yeah.
I guess if we went for a meal, I wouldn't be pulling the strings anymore. I wouldn't be telling her what to say. Then I'd be like, oh, that's not the Sunena I know, but sure.
Do you hide any secret jokes or messages in your books?
Yes. Yeah. I would say, I wouldn't say secret jokes, but I feel like there's clues. Obviously clues peppered throughout, and then there's like decoy clues and stuff. So I always find it really interesting when people have finished the book and then they'll message me and go, oh, like this bit makes sense now. And then I'm like, did you pick up on this line? And then you'll have this chat and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, that was a clue. So I love those bits where you go back and you can kind of have that analysis of it once you've got to the end.
Yeah, I had that conversation with someone and they asked if I'd spotted something. I'm like, no, I didn't. And then I went back and I'm like, yeah. And it's like, maybe it's too subtle. I'm like, no, I was just reading. I didn't spot it at all. So yes, I love that. It's cool.
It's nice though, like I really like the subtle ones, because there's some that are quite out there and then some that are subtle, but people are actually really good at picking up the subtle ones, and then it's the ones that are like, bam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a clue.
One of my favourite questions, if you were to be a fictional murderer, how would you kill your victims?
Oh, see, I feel like if I was a fictional murderer, I don't think I've got it in me to be one of those really like well thought out, planned ones. I feel like my fictional murder would just be, I don't know, I was really stressed or freaked out one day, accidentally killed someone, and then the whole book is just me being like, what do I do? That's definitely more my murder style.
Hello. And I love this question because not one person has gone, oh, I don't know, I never thought about it. It's like everyone's like, yep, I know exactly how I would do it. I was like, okay.
I think it's especially when you write like crime books and thrillers and stuff, because you've got to think about like a bit sneaky or a bit this, but then you obviously in yourself you're like, I would not be even this well planned, this well prepared. I'm sure there are some people that are really cool about it. I'm like, no, I'm an accidental murderer.
Yeah, one of my favourite answers was just walking along and just push someone over a cliff. I'm like, yeah, okay, nice, neat, tidy, no blood and gore, just done. Okay.
I do feel like as a person, this is a strange thing to admit, but you know when you walk on either like a bridge or something, there's always this impulse where I'm like, what if I did just either push them, what if I did just go? And it's an awful thought, and you're like, I never would, but it's just this bit where you're like, what if? I'm like, maybe that's the start of a story, just someone that likes to walk on bridges and push people.
Yeah, I think there's a name for that actually. I think everyone has that, which is nice to know because yeah, must be some caveman thing or something, I don't know, but yeah, it's very odd.
It's just an awful thought, isn't it? It comes in your head and you're like, I'm a nice person.
What the hell? Yeah, very freaky.
Yeah.
And if you were to be fictionally murdered, who would you want to solve your case?
Ooh, that is a good question. I feel like it's this might be a cop-out answer, but I feel like if it was going to be fictionally murdered, I'd like to be murdered in a Lisa Jewell book, if that makes sense. So I don't have a specific character, but I feel like a Lisa Jewell would be a good author to kind of. I like that she always puts an extra twist and stuff at the end. I feel like she'd make it a really good murder for me. I'd have died in a really interesting way, and there'd be a good twist at the end.
I love asking that of especially writers that write series, because they never pick their own. Hardly two. I think of all the people I've asked that question, two people have picked their own detectives. Like, does that say I would for your detectives?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely would have picked mine. Maybe Detective Stone. She's quite nice, but still, I'm not sure I'd pick mine.
Yeah, I know Sherlock Holmes has been a popular choice, unsurprisingly, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I want Lisa Jewell to murder me in a book.
You never know, she may very well do that.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll send her this interview and be like, hey, you need a character.
Weirdly, I've been included as a character in 3 books, and 2 of those I've been sex mad, and I don't know why.
I bet you were like, thank you. So flattered though at the same time.
I don't. I mean, the first time was funny and I knew, and the second time, I thought, what the fuck?
It's good that you can laugh it off. Yeah. But I mean, you're a fictional character now. How cool is that?
It's awesome. I love it. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah. You live on in the pages forever. I always think that's a really cool feeling.
Yeah. Even if I am a sex mad politician that takes boys to my hotel room.
I mean, there are worse politicians to be.
This is very true. It was a fantastic book as well, actually. So yeah, it's fine. Oh, I need to chase him, actually. He promised me a signed copy. But yeah, anyway, that's beside the point.
You'll have to sign it as well yourself, because you are famous in the book. You know, like you are a fictional character. It'll be double signed.
I think it came out on my birthday as well, which was really odd. So yeah, it's like extra special.
That is so special. I love it.
Yeah, it was cool. Since you first decided to start writing, what's been your absolute highlight?
Oh, this is going to sound really cheesy, but I genuinely mean it. It's like meeting readers or talking to people, like doing things like this. It's just, there's no feeling like talking to people that enjoy books. Not even necessarily like my book. Just people that, just talking to other readers. It's obviously nice when people, you can chat about your book and they ask you questions and stuff, but yeah, just meeting readers. We said in our 2.5-hour conversation before that like the reading community is just so lovely. Everyone's just so nice, and not everyone can like your book, or some people love it and they're like, I'm your biggest fan, which is a lovely but strange feeling. But it's just such a welcoming, nice place, and I really appreciate being included and being part of that. So yeah, for someone that I was so insecure and so worried about this first book coming out, you're like, everyone's gonna hate me, everyone's gonna hate this. So for actually people to take the time to message you or want to speak to you, it's so lovely.
Have you made lots of author friends since you started writing?
I think so. I hope so. I've definitely made lots of reader friends. I speak a lot to Elle Croft. She did my book launch with me, my virtual book launch, because it was in COVID, so we couldn't do it. And she's just so lovely, like one of the kindest people. And it's nice to talk to other authors, because they get those kind of like feelings of fear or that imposter syndrome. It's just nice to talk to someone that gets it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
Oh, this is a weird answer for a thriller author, but Jacqueline Wilson. When I was younger, Jacqueline Wilson was my idol, absolute idol. I went to see her at, she did a talk in Ilkley, and my primary school teacher took me and my mum, and I got to meet her. She signed my book, and it was just the best day ever. And I used to love that all her books were obviously kids' books, but they tackled such difficult issues. Like if you think like Tracy Beaker, she's growing up in care, she's like missing her mum. There's such hard subjects, but she tackles them with such like sensitivity and humor and such care. And even though it's not the genre I write in, I feel like I never want to be someone that shies away from really hard topics. So like my first book's about extreme bullying and things like that, and it's that bit where I just think I learned so much from as a kid from her and how she writes and what kind of things she dares to go for in her books.
Yeah, I think I missed her. I think I had the Worst Witch books and Endpoint Horror and Adrian Mole, and I think I sort of bypassed that, so I feel kind of robbed really, because I've heard so many good things but never read any.
I feel like even if you read, obviously it's not quite the same reading them as an adult as it is when you're a kid, but they're still powerful. I think that's what's I think sometimes like young adult books and stuff, people kind of go, they're for children. They're not. Like, they're so powerful. There's so many things in children's stories, and they're just incredible. Like, anyone that can write full stop's amazing, but I feel like to write a children's story or a young adult is such a task. And I feel like she just did it so well. Like, even now, to be 28 and being like, oh, the one writer in the world I'd love to meet is her. Or Gillian Flynn as a thriller author. I'll throw that one in there just because Gone Girl. I know it's the book, but I was like, that twist. I remember reading it and being like, somebody read this book. I need to talk to somebody.
No, I hate that when you've read something and no one else has read it. You're like, come on, I need to talk to anyone, please.
And you're like, take it, somebody read it, and just lending it out. I never lend my books out, but you can read it so we can talk about it.
Please read it quickly, like within the day would be nice, please.
Yeah, you've got to pick your reader well. You've got to pick them well.
Yeah, someone that takes a month, nah, no good. You've read like 20 odd books in that time.
I feel like with the twisting Gone Girl was just a book that it was one of my first ever thriller books that I'd read, so I feel like that obviously was part of it, because I was pretty new to the genre, but it was one of those books that made me realize like female characters don't always have to be good and this, and like they could be quite twisted and dark, and then obviously the twist is so shocking. I was like, oh, you can write like this, you can challenge those like stereotypes and things. I think that's why it had such a big impact. So sorry, I've answered and picked two authors, but
that's fine. I'm not strict with my rules.
Yeah. You can come to and we'll all have a big brunch together or something, and we'll just have a great time.
Oh yeah, sounds like great fun actually. Yeah, totally in for that. So when you're not writing, how do you like to spend your time?
Oh, I feel like at the minute things are so busy that I'm like, what do I do when I'm not writing? I'm like, social media stuff. So yeah, I like to do it all. I think because I enjoy writing so much, I use a lot of it as my downtime, if that makes sense. But I guess we live in Australia, and it's really nice to now kind of restrictions have eased a little bit. It's nice to go be able to explore a bit more or go out in Sydney and things. So I guess just doing the normal stuff but somewhere new, like it's nice to go different places. So I'd say traveling is definitely something I want to do more this year.
Yeah, you live in probably one of the most amazing places in the world, so imagine yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just this time of year is obviously the summer here, so it's so hot and humid. And as a very pale English woman, I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, well, it's cold and frosty here, so I have no sympathy, none whatsoever.
We were talking earlier and I was like, I'm so jealous. Describe the cold. I think you always want what you don't have, or like to flip into it and go.
Yeah, I mean, I take the heat, just not the humid. Not a fan of humid.
Oh yeah, it's the humid that I struggle with. Like the heat, you kind of go, oh, there's aircon, or you're out for a little bit, but it's humid and you kind of wake up, and then by the end of the day, your hair's like Monica in Friends when she goes away, and you just always just feel a little bit gross. Like it's that I struggle with. And Sydney's nowhere near like the top of Australia is really intense for humidity. Like we went there when we travelled, and I got out of the hotel room and I was like, I don't actually think I can walk. I don't think I can go anywhere in this. It was so bad. Beautiful, but very hot.
Yeah. Where would your top travel destination be when you're finally allowed free?
Ooh, it's such a good question. Obviously, England, I'd love to come back home and see my family and friends. And also there's so many readers and book people that I'd love to meet back in England. I feel like I'd love to, if I could, launch my second book actually in England, just so I could get to see people. That would be amazing. But outside of that, I'd love to go back to Iceland. I've been a few times. It's where I got engaged, and it's just such a beautiful place. It feels really magical. If you like fantasy books or stuff like that, I think Iceland's a really great place to feel like you're in just another world.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be, and they do an Iceland Book Festival as well. And this guy keeps posting about it, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to like 4 already, and it's quite expensive, but I so want to go.
Honestly, I would just 100 million billion% recommend it. It's just, and the people are so friendly, just so nice and so welcoming. Yeah, I can't recommend Iceland more. There are loads of great places in the world, but I just feel like it's a real special place to me. So I'm always like, I want to go there. I hope you get to go one day.
Me too. And I hope you get to go back.
Yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
If you're able to travel to any period of time, forwards or backwards, where would you go?
Ooh, I love this question. I'd love to go back to like the Victorian era, but like, you know, when you watch Pride and Prejudice, that kind of stuff, I'd love to be in like a Pride and Prejudice kind of life. And I actually imagine if I went back there, it would not be as nice as my imagination makes me think it is, or, you know, Keira Knightley in Pride and Prejudice makes me think it is. But I would love to go back, or even I feel like World War II times. I know it must be really tough, but I just bet it was just a really interesting time to be around. Yeah, I felt those were quite important historical times. I'd like to go there.
I think the thing with Pride and Prejudice, although not so much for Keira Knightley, but is if you're rich, then it's fine.
Yeah.
You can't be poor, can you? When you go back, you've got to be rich. Otherwise, you just die probably of some horrible disease.
Like, I don't want to go back as Oliver Twist, is how I'll word it. I don't want to be the apple dodger. I want to be, you know, some country house and fall in love with a Mr. Darcy and having, you know, a really beautiful kind of countryside life. That's the style I want.
Yeah, just read all day, float around in dresses, and just go to big country houses. And yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want that? It's awesome.
Yeah, and it looks so beautiful. Oh,
yeah,
I watched that film far too much.
Yeah,
you were going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I've seen it loads of times. I love it. Oh, yeah.
It never gets old. I was telling Jack the other day, you know the bit where he holds her hand and he's like that hand flex. I was like, that's the most romantic scene. And Jack was like, just a man going like this. Like, oh, you don't understand.
Yeah, there's so much feeling in that, isn't there? It's just
It's so nice to talk to someone that gets it, because he was like, I hold your hand though, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't go like this.
Yeah. And now if he did, you'd just be like, what are you doing, you weirdo? It's like, yeah, you just don't get it.
We've been together years, it's not the same.
Yeah. But you're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah. That's what you should do tomorrow. After all your other interviews, you should do some Pride and Prejudice watching.
I do actually have the urge to watch it every now and then I will, because I just love it.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours long or something as well, but it feels like it goes so fast.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it doesn't. I think especially when you've seen it and you know what's coming, and yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, the hand flex is coming. Favorite scene, rewind.
Yeah, I'm terrible at doing that in The Greatest Showman, actually. I can.
Oh, love The Greatest Showman. I went to the cinema 3 times to watch it. Which is your favourite song in it?
The last one, From Now On.
Really? Mine's Never Enough, you know, the ballad. I think it's just I wish I could sing. Wish I could sing like that. And every time I'm just like
Yeah. But she didn't sing it, did she? Because she was supposed to be the greatest voice and she knew that she couldn't do it justice. So she just mimes, but yeah, it made me cry the first time I saw it.
It's such a good song. Oh, it gets me every time. Oh, that film is amazing. Now I want to watch The Greatest Showman and Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. Both of us tomorrow, both like, yeah, totally just watched them both.
Yeah. I love the way like talk about thrillers and crime books and we're picking Greatest Showman and Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, we did say we were going to talk about books as well, and we've already diverted off to films. I don't know how this happens.
I think it's me. I end up just going in such segues all the time.
Yeah, I think we're both as guilty, to be honest. I think I'm just as guilty.
Yeah, I see you're a good interviewer because it just ends up being a real great chat.
Yeah, although, you know, we do forget to mention books generally, which isn't that helpful if you're trying to sell some, but you know what.
I like The Girl She Was Before by Jess Kitching. I've mentioned it.
You have a copy, can you hold it up?
Oh yeah, I actually do, because it was early when this started. Jack was asleep, and the books were in the other room, so I was like, I best get one just in case I need it, and I don't have to go in at 6:30 and be like, hey. So yes, here it is. I'll put it. Do you want me to keep holding it up? Put it down.
You can put it down if you want, otherwise your arms will start to ache.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like this, hailing on my hands.
If you were stranded on a desert island, what 3 things would you want with you?
A sleeping bag so I could have a nap. I'm a big napper. I was going to say my phone so I could listen to Spotify, but I feel like if you had a phone, that kind of defeats it. But just somewhere to listen to music. And then I'm not much of a Kindle reader, but I think I'd need a Kindle. I need something. So yeah, no food or water, but the important things like sleep, music, and books, that I'm fine.
Yeah, so you're not planning on like escaping, you're just like literally going there to chill and catch up on the TBR. Yeah.
It sounds quite nice. It sounds like a holiday.
I'm not sure what your fiance would think to he didn't even get a look in.
Jack's probably like, peace at last.
Yeah, see you later. Good luck.
I'll rescue you in a week. I'm like, thanks,
yeah, a week? Well, that's not long enough. Give it a month.
Yeah, like I've only read 3 books. Go back.
Yeah, go. I'm fine. It's fine.
See the rescue book come in, then you hide.
Yeah, go away. My TBR is still insane.
I feel like you've told me that many books and authors in this chat that I'm like, it's more insane than it was before, and I didn't think it could grow, but it has.
Yeah, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Like I could literally tell you loads more, but you know, that's plenty to be going on with. You're fine.
In 6 months' time, when I'm still going, still chipping away.
And in return, I will read your book. So I've given you like 10, and I will read 1. That seems fair, right?
I don't know you've got that many books to read. I'm like, me adding another on yours, and I'm sorry.
Fine, it's fine. I'm going to live till I'm like 200. Yeah. Maybe 250 to tackle them all. Yeah. Seriously, hiatus. Just 1 month of nothing, and we'll be fine.
Is there a month you'd prefer? Should I send some messages out and be like, okay, authors, we just need a break?
Not really any. I think I'm not fussy. Just yeah.
I'll see what I can do. I mean, I don't have much sway or influence, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, please. I just want to catch up. Like, there's so many amazing books. I don't think that's a bad thing, is it?
No, I mean, as a writer, it's a compliment that there are that many amazing books out there. It's nice to be in that much great company. Definitely.
So what you said you're in the editing stage of book 2, so then do you know what you're going to do after that?
Probably have like a day or 2 where I breathe, and then my publisher's really good because we do kind of cover designs and stuff together, so it's very like, they obviously design it all, like I don't design it, definitely not, but it's very kind of collaborative, and like we work on a lot of the stuff together, which is really, really nice. So I think it's going to go to that, and then turn towards like marketing ideas and booking a few things in. So I feel there'll be a little bit of a break, and then I'll have like my final edits, my final read through, and just double check everything, and then it will go to intense kind of promotion time, which is exciting though, because it means you get to meet more people and chat.
And when are you expecting that to be out?
I can say like middle of this year, later on this year, and we don't have a specific date just yet, but this year definitely.
Awesome. I don't have any more questions for you, and if you think there's anything I haven't asked you in like the last 3 odd hours that Do you think I should have? You want to tell us?
No, I guess my only thing I'd say is, one, I hope people like it. But one of the aims with this book is to talk about kind of the lasting impact of bullying. I'm in a really bright spot here, so you can't really tell, but I've got a facial birthmark on my forehead. Yeah, you can kind of see it. And a lot of this book was inspired by kind of experiences that I'd gone through, or just talking to people that had gone through bullying and stuff. So yeah, one of the things is to explore that theme. And I'm starting to work with a charity in Australia called Bully Zero to do some more work around that. So fingers crossed, kind of helping people realise, it's a long lasting thing, and that also, just spreading kindness is something I definitely like to keep going. So if you read this book and you ever want to talk about any experiences or anything, you know where I am.
And where are you? And where can people find out more, and where can they get your book from?
I nearly said Australia. I'm in Sydney. I feel like probably the best place to contact me is on Instagram at Jess Kitchen Writes, or Facebook page Jess Kitchen Writes. I do my best to respond. I'm just a bit more active on Instagram. And then yeah, my book's available all over Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes and Noble. There's a few kind of indie bookshops in Australia, like Better Read Than Dead, that stock it, and Abby's bookshop. So there's a few different places. But if you do want it, you can always send me a message and I can send you a link.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for spending this time chatting to me in the interview. I've had so much fun.
Me too.